61 Chaos. In the first week of May, India did not dispatch a single tactical attack aircraft to approach the Jhelum Dam. All the aircraft seemed to have joined the formation to attack the north, except for occasional drones sticking to the border, knowingly or not. Glancing across this area, India behaves as if it has completely abandoned this goal. Maybe the international condemnation has scared them? But Sami knew that this was an illusion. It was just because India lacked the ability to command large fleets anytime and anywhere. They must be preparing for something. So whenever the Indian drones approached, Sami instructed the Major General not to turn on the nearby ground-to-air search radars for these distant drones. One is that the distance is too far to hit, and the other is that it is easy to measure the radar position and signal characteristics. Follow their way. 5 battalions of FD-2000 surface-to-air missiles, which are Pakistan's most advanced missiles to shoot down the Su-30, were secretly deployed in an arc 100 kilometers west of Karian, and all search radars were strictly restricted from operating. In addition, the Major General deployed more than a dozen 37mm self-propelled anti-aircraft guns from the army and placed them in the nearby mountains as a supplement to ground-to-air firepower. These tracked chassis air defense weapons, equipped with independent search and ranging radar and an old-fashioned optical tracking system, can perform some garrison tasks independently and are not easily jammed. After arranging all of this, the only thing the general worried about was that the Indian Air Force would not come. On the day when the Indian Air Force decided to launch a large-scale deployment, the weather was not very good and it was rainy. All ground-based radar operations north of Gujarat were hit by powerful electronic jamming from an out-of-theater electronic warfare aircraft 50 kilometers across the border. The plane flies back and forth along the border non-stop, and appears to have great endurance. The radar on the Pakistani side has completely failed to monitor the Indian side of Halwara and Adampur Air Force Base, and no Indian aircraft can be seen taking off and landing. Simply, this jammer has not continued westward for the time being. Alert radar can still monitor the airspace within the country, but the Yaram River basin is not among them. It was unwise for the Indian side to choose a rainy weather, which seems to have weakened the launch power of the electronic warfare aircraft. Sami immediately got the news that the ground radar was jammed. Although he could not know whether the enemy bomber had taken off, he had a hunch that things had already begun. He immediately asked an AWACS aircraft on standby at Peshawar Airport to take off to guard the eastern airspace. Major General Islam himself was sitting in it, according to Sami's request. When the AWACS flew over Faisalabad, a large number of Indian fighter jets can already be seen flying across the border towards the dam. He counted it, and a full 20 enemy planes were heading towards the dam at an altitude of 5,000 meters, and Adampur Airport was behind him. There were also 9 MiG-29 fighter jets and an electronic warfare aircraft, which were approaching the border. He had never seen such a large fleet in his life. 8 Thunder fighter jets of the 26th Squadron under the command of Sami took off quickly from 2 airfields and went straight to the enemy aircraft group. When they completed the formation in the air, they could clearly see through the data link that these enemy planes had reached the sky above the dam, and it was too late to stop them from dropping bombs. Lion or Rhino? Asked the Major General on VHF. Only taking off from Halwara can it be so fast? Damn, it must be a Lion. Sami replied. Colonel, the latest information, the dam has been bombed by the first round, and she is still standing. Well, there will be no second round today. I think half of their planes are not carrying bombs. So, their air combat firepower will be very strong. You have to be careful. Major General said. I know, I guess they should have spotted us by now and see how they react. As expected by the Colonel, 500 kilometers away, India's A-50 early warning aircraft had spotted several Pakistani planes trying to outflank the Su-30 group from the side and rear. The early warning aircraft sent the message to the Lion Air Group in the air and the Air Force Chief of Staff in Jaipur at the same time. Admiral Bibleda. From the Admiral's view, such a counter-attack was entirely expected. He sneered, this group of enemy planes was undoubtedly moths to the flames, because he had already arranged a counterattack. The Torch Squad, the newly established electronic warfare aircraft unit, in fact, has only one aircraft. Quickly approach the Lion, but do not cross the border. Admiral said. He passed the AWACS and gave some pointers to the counterattack. He knew that with this electronic warfare aircraft suppressing the ground radar, Pakistan's ground firepower could not play much. Fortress, A-50 early warning aircraft call sign, listen, according to the original plan, let the Lions fight back. I am looking forward to them being able to surpass the record of the Eagle Squadron in the past 2 weeks. The 10 Su-30s that had dropped bombs turned around and returned according to the established plan. The corresponding MiG-29 fleet also returned to Adambul due to insufficient fuel. Why did they take off? The escort formation consisting of another 10 Su-30 MKIs began to turn to search for the enemy. On this day, air strikes have been going on for 2 full weeks, and Indian intelligence estimates that 60% of Pakistan's front-line airfields and half of ground-based radars east of Peshawar are out of service. This estimated figure is slightly higher than the actual situation, but it is also enough to support the confidence of the Indian Air Force to carry out bold tactical missions in the northeastern region of Pakistan. After the Su-30 MKI of the Lion Squadron turned, it flew opposite the Raiden fighter, and the distance between the two sides was only about 95 kilometers. Almost all Indian aircraft turned on their radars and began to search the airspace with a high-pulse repetition. They constantly adjusted altitude and pitch under the guidance of the early warning aircraft in an attempt to immediately scan for distant targets. These idiots are all doing the same thing, really, said the colonel, looking at the electronic warfare. From the characteristics of each other's radar beams reflected on the integrated display, they have seen themselves and are trying to track multiple targets. This is a very impractical way, because the real veteran can easily get out of this tracking mode. It seems that the Lion's combat base is based on theory, and the actual combat experience, the Eagle Squadron, is much more sophisticated. But the colonel also had to admit that sometimes the stick in the hands of a fool is indeed longer, and it is best not to despise him. Okay, guys, let's see if the training you've received will work. The Thunderbolt group was still heading straight for the enemy plane, and he had to turn 80% of the enemy's mid-range bullet head-on range before turning. Fighter pilots for so many years know the pilot's mind best. Such a distance is an irresistible temptation. In the Indian early warning aircraft in the distance, the guide is advising the pilots of the Lion Squadron to conduct one-to-one tracking and not to perform meaningless scans. The Lions still have a 10-to-8 advantage in numbers, and there is absolutely no need to track the same target repeatedly.